Woo, woo. Hey, what's up, YouTube? And good morning. Uh, as you might notice, we didn't have a live feed last night, and you might be able to hear it in my voice here. Been battling, got a bug this weekend, and I thought I would be okay to do the live feed, but as it turns out, I was too sick after the Halloween festivities to continue on last night. But what we can do is this is now early in the morning here in California, and what I'm going to do is we're going to do a little bit of painting, just so you guys can enjoy a little bit of this what we're talking about here. Shoot, I've got to 1 second, guys. I've got to mute the live part of the feed on the Facebook side. It'll be interesting to see who joins us this morning, because this is absolutely not the normal time that I broadcast. So we'll see how this goes. And I'm going to clean out my brush here. So here's the model that we're going to be painting today. This is the, basically, it's called Skeleton Man, but we all know this is Skeletor from Kaha Miniatures. And I thought it was perfect for Spookytoberfest / Halloween / whatever you want to call it. Now that Halloween is over, it's too bad I wasn't feeling well last night to paint this. I thought it would have matched the occasion just right, but we're going to go ahead and paint it here because I told you guys I was going to do it, so we're going to do it. And we'll talk a little bit about my Halloween, and we'll just see how far we can go before the little guy wakes up, because he's going to be waking up here probably about an hour and a half. So I figure I've got about an hour and a half to paint this guy. So we're just going to give him a basic paint job, but I think that's all Skeletor really needs. I mean, from a technical standpoint, he's not the most intricate miniature. The cartoon version of him is pretty simple. He's just kind of a purple skin with a skeletal face, and he kind of had like darker armor. That's about it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get him primed up, and I'll probably airbrush a little base coat on him. You know, nothing unusual. This is going to be essentially all pretty standard stuff. Okay, I'm going to try to get us through the the airbrush stuff pretty quick. So yeah, I mean, if you look at him, he's got a lot of organic angles to him, muscle, fur. He doesn't have, his armor is bone based, so he doesn't have like the crazy points of light that we might do, say, on an Infinity miniature. We might do something like that. We wouldn't do that on Skeletor here. We're just going to try to keep him basic, simple, and really just kind of let the sculpt speak, because really that's what I think that's the main reason why anyone would want to see this miniature, is because they want to be able to see and recognize their character, one of their favorite characters, Skeletor. It's clearly one of my favorite characters. Now, the quote of this feed, "even more eviler than Skeletor," is actually from an Ali G movie. So if you guys are fans of Ali G, Sacha Baron Cohen, you might recognize that quote. I just think it's really, that was like one of the funniest things said in the movie, because it was so random. You know, he's talking about his arch nemesis in the movie, and says that he's even more eviler than Skeletor. It's a little early. Hey, what's up, Robert? Yeah, it is a bit early, but hey, you know, we gained an hour back. So we'll see if my son actually honors that, if he's going to sleep another hour or not. All right. So let's just give this guy a little bit of a prime coat. All right. So here we go. We're going to prime a little gray here. See, we already have a different viewer this time of the morning. Robert is lives in the middle of the country, so he can't normally tune into the live feed. All right, so when this is how we prime it. It's always just a thin. You start with a thin layer, go over the whole model once, and then come back and then actually come back into your prime. Get a little bit of a spit here. All right, cool. I do have another model to prime. I could prime this guy. This is the Relic Knights East Coast. Sheesh. Oh, that's right. Sorry. East Coast. Sorry. I think I confused you with Robert Nolan, who lives like in the Kansas area, I believe. So sorry about that. Eldorado Bob there. So we're giving Anthony a little prime here. Because we can, because we got primer loaded. Might as well. I'll paint him. I'll probably paint this guy later in the week, next week. Because the reason why I'm not going to paint that guy anytime soon is I have a really fun commission coming up. And since you guys are tuning into this, I can actually talk about that. Because what was that? Huh. How interesting. Well, that's my cat. Yeah, he wants in. I'm going to let him in because he's going to sit out there and cry and wake up my kid otherwise. So 1 second while I let the cat in. All right. And I'm going to clean up my airbrush real quick. Okie doke. So 1 sec, hold on. Okay. So the cat's in, and we are ready to go. Okay. So this primer is going to dry here for just a minute. You don't have to wait for it to dry too long. I just primed him a gray, but it's almost a white. It's a, nothing really to write home here about. So I don't have any major areas here to do. I guess I could spray out the bone and make the bone look really nice and then bring back the purple. So I guess we could do that. That wouldn't be such a big deal. So let's go ahead and do that since we've got the airbrush on and we're ready to go. Now that the cat's joined us, really important bit of info there. But anyway, let's let that dry for a minute. Okay, so here's the next commission that I've got in, which is really exciting because I don't think anyone's seen this yet. All right, so there's a local guy here working on a miniatures game. His name is Chris, and he's working on a game called Wild in the Streets. Okay, Wild in the Streets is a really, really interesting concept. This is a modern day skirmish game based on like modern gangs, modern fringe cultures. Okay, and he sent me a set of miniatures to paint, and I'll show you a little bit of them. So they're all from a pose standpoint, they're all somewhat simple, but it's the theme of the game, which is fantastic. So you have like skinheads, you have like LARPers, you have like Riot Girl type characters. I think this is I think the set that he sent me was the Riot Girl characters, which you can see there. There's one of them, and this is a single piece miniature, but it's fantastic quality. It's a beautiful miniature. I mean, if you look at it, there's the detail is really subtle, but it's great. It's really crisp, and there's not much cleanup on these miniatures. They're put together really well, and I'm just really looking forward to starting on these. I don't know when I can actually. Well, a couple things. I'm trying to figure out like what I could do with basing on these, because it's a modern day skirmish game. So I was thinking, okay, I'll probably do like little bits of street and whatnot. I'll do like I can use the cork and make it like they're on a broken, essentially a broken asphalt area. So that's an option. Or I could do, I don't really want to do like grass and fields. That just doesn't make sense to me for that game. So anyway, I think we're dry here. Let's go in with some brown ink to start off the show. Brown ink is just going to provide the shadow. So I guess the approach is we're going to do the skeletal parts of Skeletor. And then we'll paint in the purple flesh last. And frankly, there's not much else to this miniature other than that. There's just not a whole lot going on. I mean, anyway. All right, so here we go. So we're going to spray an ink. And I like spraying inks because they allow you to build. You can actually build and concentrate in areas. So obviously, I'm going to concentrate here on the face. I forget, Skeletor's shield was kind of purpley, but I want him to have like a bone-based center of his shield here. So we'll do that. And we'll do the back here. All right. Let's get this bone staff, which is fairly impressive. I'm just going to shoot the bottom too, just because I can. All right. So there we go. Should actually shot the bottom more of an umber color, but that's okay. Still works. What's this? Well, it kind of has like a skeletal belt back there. Okay, cool. So let's let that dry for a second. Now, inks usually take a long time to dry. That's one thing to note. When you airbrush inks, though, they still dry pretty quickly. So I like that a lot about airbrushing inks. Is they're easier to control once you get the hang of it. There's a little bit of an experience gap you need to bridge there. Just knowing how thin an ink really is and not going crazy when you spray it. But once you get past it, like you can get really comfortable with inks and how to apply them to the model using an airbrush. And they'll behave a little bit more like a standard airbrush paint in that you don't actually want them to build and settle into crevices. You're actually just coating the model with the ink. That's a little bit different than how you would treat an ink if you were brushing it on. If you're brushing an ink on, you're trying to actually get the ink to settle into those crevices, whereas when you're spraying it on, it becomes more of a tint, and then you can build color into the areas that you want. Okay? All right, so let's get moving. So the next color here. Got a couple of colors here I can work with. So, all right. So we're gonna go mummy. All right, and we're gonna give this a just kind of a quick top level prime. Okay. So I didn't really load much of it on here. But we're gonna do our zenithal. So towards the tops where the light's gonna hit, that kind of thing. There we go. Okie doke. And get behind the shield. And honestly, from here, I don't think I need to airbrush anymore on this model. I think he's got the color, at least the airbrushable parts, where we want it. Okay, I'm just gonna give it a little dusting here. There we go. All right. All right, let's let that dry. Let's clear out the airbrush, and let's get down to painting. I guess I should ask you, Robert, this is what, just about 9 o'clock where you're at? What are you doing up on a Sunday morning? Maybe you are enjoying that extra hour we all gained? All right. Okie doke. One more clear through, and then we'll get down to painting. All right. That's pretty good. All right. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a bug going around in our house. My wife was sick. My wife and I were both sick, actually, since about Thursday night. I was hoping to do a live feed. Was it Wednesday? Feeling sick Wednesday. That didn't work. Then we tried. Then I thought I might feel a little bit better for Thursday. That didn't work. So I did some painting and trying to pass the time here. And then I figured I would be okay last night because I was like, by Halloween I should be okay. But actually, the bug got a bit worse over the weekend. And it's not for like lack of sleep. I haven't been painting much, at least not for me. I usually paint in the evenings. I usually paint 2 to 3 hours per session when I get home from work and I put the little guy to sleep. That's one thing that might be a little bit different. Is little guy is now much more accustomed to having dad put him to sleep than mom. So, and he's been staying up a little bit later. So I can't start painting for usually till like 10 p.m. now at night. And so that means like I'm down to about an hour and a half worth of painting during my session. So things have slowed down. I'm not really complaining though, because I'm still on target for all my extra live painting, all the price support stuff. So it's all the bonus painting, all that extra stuff that I'm missing out on, like Anthony there and whatever. All right, so anyway, let's go ahead and get to the painting. Now, I don't think Yeah, I don't think there's really any like high detail or anything that I need to worry about at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and mount the miniature. And normally I wouldn't be mounting the miniature because I'd be in there doing like faces, that kind of stuff. I'd rather be sleeping. Well, here, if all you have to do is watch this stream a little bit longer, and I'm sure you will be able to fall asleep. I'm really good at putting people to sleep with my fascinating commentary. Okay, so anyway, so here's the guy. Let's go ahead and give him a wash. Okay, so I'm gonna give him a sepia wash. That's actually gonna uh, bold out the color a little bit. Well, actually, hmm, hmm, maybe more of an umber wash. Umber wash, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, I do want to have a wash in there, but I've got to decide: do I want a black wash or an umber wash? I think I want an umber wash. Or I can even use this sepia ink wash. Probably sepia ink wash would be nice because it actually will give me a little bit of richer bone color. It's my dulcet tones, huh? Yeah. Well, I'm trying to talk without waking the rest of my family up because they are peacefully asleep, subject to change at any moment, and then suddenly I'd sign off and that'd be the end of our feed. But hey, that's one of the hazards of being the dad painters, right? All right. All right, so let's go ahead and hit this. I'm just going to try straight sepia tone. And so I'm going to test it I'm going to hit the back of the shield. You always start with an area that, yeah, that looks pretty good. I don't know that I want to go really any darker than that. And I know you can't see it where you guys are at, but I don't think I want to go any darker than that. In the eye sockets, I might actually spot apply something a little bit darker. But I think as far as an ink wash or a wash, I think this is where I want to be. Let's try another area here that's a little bit lighter. So I'll do the bottom of the shield. Yeah, that looks right. That looks like the color I want. All right, so let's go ahead and apply it. Okay. So this is just going to give us an additional level of shading. I know most people do they shade their skeletons with Agrex Earth Shade or Army Painter Strong Tone. I think this color's fine. I really like sepia much better than Agrex Earth Shade in general. It just gives the miniatures a warmer look, and they don't look. My issue with Agrex Earth Shade is it will muddy up the miniature and make it look too dull. There we go. Okie doke. I really like Skeletor. I've been a big fan of Skeletor from He-Man when I was a kid. We collected all the action figures. I really like Skeletor. I really like the fact that the old action figures, he had a sword, he had the half a sword that you combine with He-Man's sword. And, you snap them together, and then that forms the key to Castle Grayskull. They didn't, I don't know if they continued that when they modernized the line, but that's how it originally came out, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. But the bad guys in He-Man were just hilarious. You know, Merman, Manny Faces, Beast Man. Merman was the funniest in the cartoon. And obviously Skeletor. Skeletor is just great. He's, you know, he's got that cult icon status at this point. All right. So we'll let this dry for just a minute. And then we're going to start applying highlights up from this, okay? So I can use off-white is 1, but I'm going to see if I have a bone white or an aged white. Oh, I have Iraqi sand. That usually works great as a, you know, when you're painting up bone structures. Iraqi sand is just about perfect, actually. The only issue is I'm running low on it. Let's see if I have another bottle of Iraqi sand as I fumble through my my highly organized paint system. Okie doke. Nothing, huh? Wow, I really am out of Iraqi sand. I'm gonna have to hit the have to get to a hobby store here sometime soon. Anyway, let's get all this stuff ready. I could just dry brush a thin layer of Iraqi sand on, but I think I'm just gonna treat it as really soft, a really soft layer. Okay. We're still waiting for this stuff to dry. Yeah, still heavy. So I'm gonna let that dry. So meantime, like I said, baby might wake up at any moment. So we are gonna work on his purplish skin tone. Now, if you look at Skeletor, his skin tone isn't exactly purplish. It's actually a little more of a blue-gray. So we're going to do a blue-gray type color here, okay? So that means starting off with a really dark color here, like we're going to do this Imperial Blue from the game airline. And then we're just going to shade this up. Yeah, that's a really, really rich blue there. I'm going to give it just one little drop of water, because this is airbrush paint, so you don't really need to thin it. We'll go ahead and come in right here. This is almost a little too intense of a blue, but we're going to start to add a little gray to it. So by the time it's done, it should look more like the He-Man skin tone the Skeletor skin tone that we all know and love. This is almost like just an undertone, so don't worry if it does not look like Skeletor at this point. Right, because we're going to treat this like we do our flesh, which is, we start off way below where that flesh tone should be, or the base, I guess the base color of the flesh tone. And we work our way back up towards it, towards the actual tone, and then we highlight 1 or 2 steps above that. What model is this? This is Skeleton Man from Kaha miniatures. Let me show you the package here. So Kaha miniatures, skeleton dude. This is made out in France. So you do have to go, I think, if I recall correctly, I ordered from, I actually messaged them on their Facebook page, and then they sent me a little link to order it. By the way, thanks for tuning in, DoleX. He's got like the back of his belt here. Gotta love Skeletor though. Love Skeletor. What a great character. I'm wanting to use Skeletor for a lot of games, actually. I'll probably primarily be using him in Frostgrave as my Necromancer. But I also want to just use him as a proxy whenever I need a proxy miniature. Gotta use Skeletor. I mean, who else is going to be your stand-in? I don't even care what genre it is. I'll drop him in for Relic Knights or Batman. I don't care. Skeletor. No one's going to argue that. Like, well, who are you taking? Well, I'm taking Skeletor, damn it. It's really nice sculpting on this miniature. It's quite nice. Okay. All right, so I need to really quickly look up some reference art for Skeletor while this stuff is drying so that I can tell how I'm going to highlight up the things like the chest piece and the shield, the fur, and the hood. Let me finish putting this blue undercoat down now. Make sure I get all the flesh on the model. I think that is all the flesh areas. Okay, let's do a quick Google search here on Skeletor. Actually, you know what? I need to do it. I'll do it on my phone just to be sure. That way I don't jack up my feed here We need to know what colors will we have on Skeletor here. Okay. Here's some images of Skeletor. So yeah, here we go. So classic Skeletor has that blue-gray skin, and he's got a purple hood and a purple chest piece. But that's from animation. There's not enough detail on there, and also his skull is actually a little more yellow than it is white. Here's the other more modern depiction. I think this is the newer cartoon Skeletor. So here the skull is white, skin is still more of a gray, and then you've got purple for most of the armor piece. So I think I'll go a little bit more close to this one. All right, so we're gonna apply purple to those other areas, the hood and all that. The fur will make like more of a black type color, like gray black. But all the hood, the robe stuff will be purple. So let's go ahead and let's find our purple. And I need a, like, actually need more of a violet color. This is going to be like half the process. Here's a violet ink that will probably come in handy later on. So here we go. We're going to use this purple. But yeah, even this purple is a little light. I know I have violet in here somewhere. That's also purple. And then someone walked off with my violet. Ooh. Someone could have walked off with my violet. It's okay, because I have violet washes if I need them. That blue violet's too light. We don't want that. I want this. This is right. There we go. All right. So forget the purple. We're going to go violet. Violet's a better color, so we can shade up and down from our violet. Yeah, that's the color we want. It's a lot richer. Okay. So the hood. So now we're going to paint the hood, the armor, and all that stuff violet. And then, so we're just blocking out the colors right now while all of our washes and all that stuff is drying. And we'll start coming back in. Okay. Not very often I get to use like violet for stuff. And it's very important to get around the skull here. It wasn't me. David Taylor. Thanks for joining the show. Well, luckily, nobody took my violet. I guess they just borrow it. I do paint days at the local hobby store. In fact, I'm doing one for my Extra Life charity. and I let people borrow the paints. And I try to do my best to make sure they don't walk off, but every once in a while, something walks off. And it's usually not anyone's fault. They didn't remember that they borrowed one of my paints. And then I usually get them back like a month or two later. So I'm like, hey, I was going through my paints and I remembered I didn't have this paint and then you had it. So here it is. Another reason why, like my standards, the paints that I use the most often, I usually buy, 2 or 3 bottles up and I have them around in case any of them walk off. And also just because I know I'm going to use that much. So Iraqi sand is one of those, like, it's a very standard color for me. I use a lot of Iraqi sand, but hasn't really gone anywhere. Okay, so let's paint the loincloth. I'm going to paint the loincloth and the belt and the bracers and the van braces. All that stuff will be violet. Like I said, this miniature probably going to look just fine with a fairly basic paint job. There's good detail on it as long as you're faithful to the detail. You don't have to do anything fancy on it. There's not a lot of big areas to do, like your blending or your transitioning or that kind of stuff. You just want to, keep it straightforward and honestly just enjoy painting it because it's a great miniature. So they had the center gem here, red. So we'll skip the violet on that so that I can come back in and hit it with red. Okay. Sorry for the sniffling, guys. It's my bug. My weekend bug. My wife and I were considering going to Kamikaze today, but we were too sick. We're just too sick to go. Kind of a shame. I've never actually been to Kamikaze. Would be awesome if someone could message me the link to order that model, please and thank you. You know what, Dole X, do me a favor then. If you want it, the chat actually disappears once this uploads, the recorded version. So actually go in, if you could go in and put that in as a comment on the proper video, then I can message you with that. Sadly, right now it's not the most convenient time for me to reach over and get you that link. So, but yeah, I had to find it on their Facebook page, message them on their Facebook page, and then they sent me the link. So I believe if you're on Facebook, you go to the Kaha Miniatures page, and then send them a message on there. They were actually really responsive to me, and they sent me a little personalized note when I ordered the miniature. So I really like that. I like that when, even if it's coming from France and it's going to take a little while to get over to you, it's just great to know that, like, they take their customer service a little seriously. Okay. All right. And now let's paint the bracers and the van braces. Then we'll start highlighting up the skin. And I'm going to paint the shield a purple too. Again, except for the bone parts. So, yeah. All right, so Halloween. Sounds like you're crying. I'll get you a painted Skeletor. I'm, you know, I'm choked up by the beauty of this miniature. Eh, When I saw this miniature, and I was like, yeah, I absolutely have to have this miniature, rain or shine, no matter the cost, no matter what. I have to get me a Skeletor miniature, because who doesn't want a Skeletor miniature, honestly? It's one of the things I think miniatures in general, what they could really do if they wanted to um, expand their market out a little bit, is start getting a hold of some of this IP, like Batman, um, like cartoons that we liked when we were kids, Thundercats, Transformers, all that stuff. He-Man. Can you imagine a He-Man miniatures game? That'd be awesome. I'd play that. A lot of us miniature gamers are Gen Xers. We were raised on TV in the 80s, and we have very fond memories of those shows. And in fact, these millennials have fond memories of our shows because they don't have good shows. Picking on millennials. Yeah, sorry, millennials. Our stuff was better, man. Our stuff was better, and I know a lot of millennials agree with me when I say that. The stuff that we had in the 80s was just better. Sorry, not sorry. It's good stuff. Come to enjoy He-Man. I wish millennials had really cool stories. They do. They've got good stories. But the problem is, it's not yet old enough to be iconic. So for now, come and enjoy He-Man with us older dudes, because we like He-Man. All right. So let's see. What do I want to do about this face on the shield? Well, first off, let's paint the areas that we do know what we're going to do with, and that's going to be the whole back of the shield will be purple. Sorry, I'm out of frame here. In fact, here. Oh, I can do this. I totally forgot. I can do this. I can just move the camera up, because I have the camera mounted in a very cool and awesome way now. So I can totally do that. But yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. I know it's early for some of you. For those of you across the pond in the UK, this is probably an okay time. I'm sure all my Australian viewers, this is not a great time for them. I doubt we'll see our Australian guys on. My regular viewers, who are in the same time zone as me, are probably wisely asleep right now. So there's that. All right. And let's do this. I need a second coat of this violet. There we go. Okay, cool. So blocking out the major colors here. Let's do a little bit of black or gray black on the fur parts. Okay, so the fur parts of the miniature. And then basically Skeletor will have his color blocked out. All right, so I need black gray. Yes, that rustling, I know. That rustling is just such an organized way of going through my paints. I keep just such an immaculately organized system for my paints. So here we go, black gray. You guys might not be able to see anything for a little while here. because of how dark we're starting on most of this. All right, so all the fur here. But yeah, we're not really, from a painting technical learning standpoint, we're not going to do anything fancy on this miniature. We're just going to paint it. Just going to put paint on the miniature. And we're going to let Skeletor speak for himself. Skeletor knows what Skeletor likes. All right, so Halloween, right? Let's just go over what I'll give you what I did for my Halloween, and then if you guys want to share any stories for your Halloween, fantastic. Okay, so my Halloween actually was really good. I had a really good Halloween up until the end, when I was just too sick to turn on the camera and start painting Skeletor. All right, so in the morning, uh, you know, started to get my son ready for the day. We were, my wife. Well, let me back up. Sorry. See, my storytelling already sucks, but here we go. Let's back up to last year. So last year, my wife had this idea, because my son was young, 1 year old. Well, he's still really young, but whatever. My wife had this idea to do a family costume for us. Okay, and so her family costume idea last year was for sriracha bottles. We were going to dress up as sriracha bottles. For those of you who don't know what sriracha is it's a very popular hot sauce. It's an Asian hot sauce. Okay, my wife loves sriracha. She's absolutely addicted to sriracha, and apparently she's not alone. That's a thing. There's a lot of people that are addicted to sriracha. Anyway, her last year she dressed. She wanted us all to dress up as sriracha bottles. So we had these sriracha shirts that were basically the label, and we had red pants on, and then I took some craft foam, not craft foam, well, hobby foam essentially, and I painted little nozzles for us to wear on our heads, right? So we were sriracha bottles, and we went to the mall. And we went to the local mall, and they had a costume contest there, and we ended up winning most creative for our costume, for our sriracha bottle costume. And so, it was fun. It was a kind of a thing for us, and she wants it to be a thing for our family, at least while little guy has no say in what he can wear for Halloween. So this year she decided, let's do Peter Pan, right? So we're going to do a Peter Pan theme for the family. She would dress up as Tinkerbell. I would dress up as Captain Hook, and our son, obviously, he would be Peter Pan. All right. So that was the plan this year. And so she got together all the costume stuff, and knowing little kids, I know that little kids have a hard time, like especially my son. He doesn't want to wear hats. He thinks hats are really annoying. He hates wearing hats. He'll tear him off his head and throw him on the ground, right? So it's in the morning. I'm getting my son ready, getting him dressed up, and he looks at that hat and he's mad, and he's got his little green Peter Pan outfit on, which is too itchy. Then I break out the booties, right? This little Peter Pan costume has these little booties, green booties that you slip on, and they just look like the most awful things you've ever seen in your life. And my son, he looks at the booties and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, come on, Daddy." So, that kind of sarcasm from a 2-year-old kid is just absolutely priceless, and that made my whole Halloween. That was amazing. So we compromised. I put sandals on him. He did wear the hat. He did end up wearing the Peter Pan hat. A lot of that had to do with the fact that we were bribing him with candy to do that. So he wore the hat. All right. He's Peter Pan. I'm Captain Hook. My wife is Tinkerbell. So we go to the mall, and we're like, we're kind of scoping it out. My wife is she's getting a little competitive, because it was like, hey, let's repeat our success from last year, and let's try to win another prize this year for our Peter Pan getup. Okay, so she's kind of scoping out. Like we're walking around the mall, and she's kind of scoping out like the other family. She's like, okay, well, we're in as a family entry, and we want to see if there are other families that have stepped up their game. Because last year we went as a bunch of sriracha bottles. So we were like, okay, maybe we're in an easy picking zone. Maybe we can just continue to win these prizes, especially for families, because last year we didn't see really any families entered. We saw a lot, the usual, kids dress up as Elsa and Power Rangers and all that stuff, Batman. And you're like, okay, that's what little kids want to wear, and they're going to enter the costume contest that way, and that's great. But not really any family entries. So we get to the mall. First couple hours, we're like, okay, we got this. We got this locked, right? There's like one family that are wearing like fairy wings. That's it. That's all. That was their costume. We're like, okay, whatever. We got this one. We got this locked. Hour 2 rolls along, and we start to see, it's a Saturday Halloween, so now we're starting to see the heavyweights come in, right? Like the more serious costumed family. You don't want to call them cosplayers. They're not really cosplayers, right? This is more of a mainstream, as popular as cosplays become. This is still your standard family costume contest. So hour 2 rolls along, and we're starting to see some families step it up. We saw Lord of the Rings family where like the dad was Sauron, the mom was Galadriel, the dad was Gandalf, right? And then they had somebody that was in as the Witch King, and we're like, holy crap, I think we're gonna lose. That family was awesome. And we see like a little Fruit Ninja family. That was kind of cool with the ninjas, and the rest of the families dressed up as fruit. And we're like, man, they've really stepped it up. There was like a Batman family with like a Batman and weird like referee coach characters. So my point is, we started to see that the playing field started to get more and more competitive as the day rolled on, and as the costume contest was rolling on. So so we're at the costume contest, and we're waiting to hear the prizes being awarded. And most creative goes by, and we don't win that. And I'm not really shocked by that, because we didn't really play for that. We really weren't in that arena this year. And then so most creative goes by, and then cutest, scariest, sup bro, hey, what's up, man, what's up, Dread? I know it's like so rare for me to be up this time of the morning, but hey, but yeah. So anyway, scariest, cutest, prettiest, all that stuff goes by. Finally, they get to the grand prize stuff, right? And grand prize stuff is like group entry, family entry, right? And so this is where we're invested. This is what we had come for. We're and I thought we did a pretty good job on our costumes. We're kind of stepped it up. I was wearing a pretty fancy pirate tunic and a hat and the hook and all that stuff. So it gets to the grand prize for family entry, and they announce that the Fruit Ninjas win it. And we're like, really? Fruit Ninjas? Really? My wife was a little mad. She tells me now that she was disappointed, right? She was disappointed at the time. And so Fruit Ninjas, they called the Fruit Ninjas, and we're like, okay, we didn't win the category that we were going for. So, we got to get to a party. We have one of my coworkers threw a little Halloween party for toddlers, because he's got a daughter that's around the same age as my son, and those two play together. So it's like, okay, we got to get over to his party. So So we're pulling out. We're leaving, right? And they're still calling the fruit ninjas. Where are the fruit ninjas? Where are the fruit ninjas? And we're all the way out and around, like halfway across the mall, ready to go. And fruit ninjas aren't showing up. So then the announcer's like, okay, well, how about that Peter Pan family? Peter Pan family here? And my wife screams across the mall. She's, whoa, yeah! And, she suddenly becomes like, oh, man, like Will Ferrell from his race car movie, where like really crazy over the top celebratory type thing. It was really funny, like an SNL sketch, and she's everyone could hear her clear across the mall, and she's coming, she's running up to that stage, and I'm pushing the old cart behind her, trying to keep up, and yeah, it was super funny though, because it's super funny and super sad, right? Because here's the deal. Here's the deal with costume contests. And it's one of the things that I don't like about costume contests. And I realize that this is coming from a complete place of hypocrisy from somebody that's been in a costume contest and apparently has won 2 years in a row with his family. These little kids, they show up, they put on their Batman, Transformer, Elsa, whatever their costume is, and they're super proud of their costume, and they go to the mall and they're like, I think I can win the costume contest. And costume contests, when you don't win and you're a little kid like that, it's kind of a sad thing, right? Because you had these expectations, you thought you looked great that year, and I'm sure you did, but the judges have to pick somebody. It's a costume contest, and for little kids, this is kind of one of their first tastes of, hey, I'm not going to win every single thing that I'm going to enter. I'm not going to get it's not like school where you get medals for participation and everybody's worried about your self-esteem. That's a rant I will bring up another time, folks. But anyway, so we're like wading through this crowd of people who didn't win the costume contest, and there's a lot of sad faces. There's a lot of sad little kids, and it was like, yay, we won, and we're like pushing through because we got to get to the front. We had to run clear across the mall, and then we had to get to the front and get our prize and all that stuff. But it looked like straight out of a movie. If you were there, it was like the whole, yeah, it was like Ricky Bobby, the Will Ferrell movie where he's like, woo, and screaming all the way across the mall. I thought it was hilarious. I told my wife, I kind of joked with my wife and said, hey, you're kind of a poor winner with how boisterous your celebration was. She didn't, and it was more of a joke. She did internalize that a little bit. She's like, do I need to check it? I'm like, no, it was super funny. It was a good story. I'm counting it as a W. We defended our title there at the mall. And it was, one of the funnier moments I'll remember from Halloween, other than my kid saying, "Oh, come on, Daddy," with the with the Peter Pan get up. I just thought it was hilarious. So, anyways, first highlights of the skin are going down. You can see he's starting to look a little more like Skeletor now, right? Let's do some Iraqi sand highlights on the bone features. Cool, yeah, dude. Good to see you in my time zone. Yeah, man. It's look, the sun's up, and we're coming up on 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna have to hustle here. So I know my son will be awake very, very shortly, and I'm gonna have to go feed him breakfast, and we'll hang out. And the plan for the day, we were gonna go to Kamikaze. I don't think that's gonna happen now. We're just not feeling up to it, my wife and I. I've got this bug. You can hear my sniffle. You can hear me a little congested here on the feed. But I wanted to paint some Skeletor with you guys because check him out. You gotta love Skeletor. Right? Skeletor is awesome. And let's put some highlighting here on the bone detail on the shield. Yeah, this model is super fun. Super, super fun. And It really doesn't take much to paint it. I mean, you just have to do a half decent paint job on it, and the detail on the model is beautiful. It will just make it look good. Okay. See, there we go. Let's do the staff. Yeah, I like He-Man. It was cool as a kid. Yeah, I loved He-Man as a kid, and I was a kid, and and I used to see He-Man, and I'd go, uh, you know, this is a lot of beefcake. I remember thinking that as a kid. I'm like, this is a lot of just buff dudes, and I didn't quite. It was as an adult that you go, okay, this is a little more homoerotic than I recall it as. It's like watching Top Gun again. And please don't take that as a knock, as like, I'm not taking I'm not having a go at homosexuals or anything like that. But it's really funny. It's really funny. You don't really notice that as a kid. Um, but these days it like sticks out to you, like, oh man, look at He-Man, like dry humping that missile. Look at He-Man and Battle Cat and their strange relationship. But it's super funny. But yeah, as a kid, I used to watch He-Man. They had an hour that had He-Man and had Fat Albert the next hour, and I loved Fat Albert and I loved He-Man, and that was like my favorite hour of TV when I got home. Um, you know, Actually, my absolute favorite hour of cartoons when I came home as a kid. This was fourth or fifth grade. Come home from school, and Robotech would be on. You'd have Robotech on, and then Transor Z. Oh man, love those cartoons. Robotech, Transor Z, and then Saturday you'd have Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. So many great cartoons when we were kids. But yeah, loved He-Man. Yeah, looking back at it now, it's super funny. Like, like, oh, I didn't notice that this. If you chose to look at it that way, it's funny. And again, hey, all for all for. Well, I'm not even. You know what? I'm not even going to defend it because people should know better. People should know better. Um, and you know, respectful is good, but poking fun is also good. And I don't think that it's wrong to look at something another way. It's about time someone sculpted some real Camp Minis to score a bit. Yeah, for real, huh? I'm telling you, like, you could make some of these sculptors, if they could get a hold of the IP, they could make killing. And for us hobbyists, it's a double win for us. And let me explain that. What that means is, right? So if somebody sculpted He-Man, we win on all counts. We win on all counts as hobbyists. We get to paint and enjoy He-Man for ourselves. Okay, that's an immediate benefit. But also, Dread and I are commission guys. You'll have not just other miniature gamers that will commission you to paint He-Man. You'll have collectors, and collectors will come to the hobby. And people, and I think a broader audience. You can engage a broader audience with these IPs that people are familiar with. Now imagine being somebody that's never seen a painted miniature before, and you go, okay, like, check out this Skeletor, right? And that person goes, wow, I love Skeletor. I had such fond memories of Skeletor as a kid, and hey, now that I look at the cartoon, it's a little funny. But how do I get something like that? I'd love to have that in my room, that kind of thing. I'd like to put that on my desk at work. And then you explain to them, hey, that miniature is, 2 inches tall. Somebody took a brush, a tiny, tiny brush like that, and painted that. when you explain that to people, I know firsthand, like when I'm teaching people miniature gaming, and they look at the miniatures, one of the first things, especially if they've never seen the hobby before, they go, wow, you painted that. Like you went into something that tiny and painted that. And not just, you painted the lighting, you made sure that all the details were in order. Um, you did edging, you did highlighting, you did shading. Like you did that. You took something that's, no bigger than a $50, and you painted, like you made art. Like I'm not a I'm not an artistic person in the sense of like being able to sketch or draw. I mean, I have like some really uh, rudimentary skills at sketching and drawing. My brother actually far more talented than me in that regard. So by most accounts, by most everyday accounts, I'm not an artistic person. But when people find this out about me, at least the people that don't think it's absolutely weird, when they find this out about me, that I do stuff like this, they're like, wow, that's incredible. I didn't realize you had this artistic side to you. Um, because from my everyday life, I don't, I'm, pretty staid guy. Pretty standard guy. I'm one of the managers at my work. And for the most part, I blend in, I guess, with your mainstream society. And they don't even like realize, like, oh, wow, you can do something like that. And for us, it's like, oh, I've got to go home, eat food. Yeah, enjoy your food, man. Um, well, for us, it's like, this is no big deal. For those of us in the hobby, like, this is not a big deal. Like, okay, well, Octave's just doing a really, really basic paint job on the Skeletor, and it looks really great, but it's mainly the model talking, right? There's nothing really there unusual, and we know that once you get into painting, then just like with all things, you just practice a little bit, and you get better and better and better, and your stuff looks fantastic. And especially when you've got a really, really well sculpted mini like Skeletor here, right? Skeletor is actually getting pretty close to done. It's mostly just highlighting up now. So I've added a little more white to my Imperial Blue. So now I'm gonna just do really fine highlighting on the muscle detail. This is a great way to end Spookytoberfest, though, gotta say. This is fun. This was super fun. Painting Skeletor. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. He looks great. There's no real magic to painting this. Just paint. Just paint and highlight, and let the beauty of the miniature speak for itself. Been a really good Halloween. Today, though, I think today I'm for the most part just gonna relax. We're not going to kamikaze. We're just gonna hang out here, play with my son, and just enjoy a quiet Sunday. Yeah, what a simple paint job. I think he's looking fantastic, though. I'm really not not upset with how cool Skeletor is starting to look. And I do have to do one more really light highlight on the bone. I think we're going to go all the way up to off-white. But first, we'll line highlight on all the purple pieces. I'm just painting detail in on the shield. For those of you looking to get a hold of this miniature, again, Kaha Miniatures, message them on their Facebook, and they'll shoot you a link. I'd also, since I'm here shilling, I'm not really shilling for Kaha. I don't see, they don't sponsor me or anything like that. I just think it's a great miniature. I think you should get it. But I also think you should donate to Extra Life. I think you should donate to my Extra Life campaign. It's in the link in the description of the video. And the reason why I think you should is because you could win some swag. And, well, that's not the main reason. The main reason is because it's a really good cause. You know, local children's hospitals, sick kids and their families. It's a fantastic charity. And if you're not donating and you want to become involved, I highly recommend joining in for Extra Life. The official Extra Life Day is this Saturday coming up, and I've got a local event for painting that I'll be hosting. So you should check that out. But yeah, if you want to donate to my campaign online, I actually have a bunch of prizes that are going to be up for drawing, and you can win some stuff like you can win some miniatures, you can win miniature accessories. All of that is what I've got is actually detailed on my Extra Life page. So please check it out, and donate. Every $5 you donate is basically a raffle ticket. And it's $5 going to a good cause, so frankly, you probably won't miss that $5. You'll probably feel pretty happy that you did something, like, hey, I did something. I supported a fellow hobbyist, but ultimately I supported sick kids and families. So this is just my preaching and shilling. But I do think it's important. I do think it's important for me to detail this with you guys, because it's a great charity, and I am honored to be able to lend my passion for painting and playing to a great cause. Okay. A little bit of detail on the fur here for Skeletor. There we go. It really doesn't take much to make this miniature look good. I like that a lot. Really doesn't take much. All right. Let's do the final couple of highlights on the fur. Then bones and the bones, and then the little red gems, and that's it. Got to paint the base in too, but did a great job, I think. We did a, nice standard paint job. It did not take much to make Skeletor look cool, because he is Skeletor. He's gonna look cool. There's really no way around that. When you're Skeletor, you're just that cool. All right, a little carmine red for the gem. It's not really a gem, is it? It's just a symbol there. There we go. And I'm going to put a little bit of red here on this part of the skull, like the tongue. See how easy that is? A little bit of red there. We'll take this violet, this super light highlight, and just do a little edge highlight on it. Just like that, okay? And one little edge highlight right here on the tongue. Okay. There we go. Looking pretty good. Oops. Let's do a little gem right up here too. Oop. So we're about 90 minutes in. Miniature is just about done. Let's do our off-white now. We're gonna do an off-white. Then I'm just gonna wash the base. I'm not gonna do too much on the base, because it's more about getting the rest of the model to stand out. I do need his toes though. I need to highlight his toes. There we go. Oh, highlight across the toes. Okay. So now, take some off-white, and we're going to do a little bit of edge highlight. And it's going to be the finest, teeniest, finest little highlight here. It's just that last little bit of detail. That last little bit, it just kind of punches it up. That final, it's always that final little tip there that you get that. Oh, I totally forgot. The top of that staff needs to be red too. Let's do that. There we go. Look at that. So now I'm using the kind of the flat side of the brush to hit this line here. Just taper it out. After you put it down, taper it out and draw it up. You know, so you got a little transition with the horns. There we go. There we go. There we go. You can see the bone there. So quiet. Free to let me know. Again, it's been a really long week, and sorry I didn't have the regular live show, but I do need to try to keep you guys up with the content when I can. That's the purpose for this feed, okay? Just to make sure that we're getting some painting in still. All right. So now, let's just wash this base. Let me see if I can actually get focus. Nope. There we go. All right, so now let's just get this base done. And we can go about our day. Okay, so going in with the Army Painter Strong Tone. I'm going to thin that a little bit. And then, frankly, that's all I need to do here. I'm going to break out the bigger brush to do this. And then we'll paint the bottom of it black. And then that's it. That's all she wrote. It's good stuff. Really appreciate everybody that tuned in. And hope you enjoyed, because Skeletor is awesome. See, now I'm just doing... There we go. Probably should have done a camo shade. Camo shade would have worked great here too. A little more green. I'll stick with this reddish brown though. Pretty cool. I can also glue a little tuft in the front. Ooh. Got a lift there. An area where that's lifting off the base. All right. See if I can actually get a little more better lighting here. All right, and finally, let's get some black around the base, and that's it. We're good to go. That was Skeletor. Just such a beautiful mini. Not a whole lot. I just it wasn't a whole lot that I had to do. I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'll put a tuft on the base when the base is dry, Just create a little interest in front of Skeletor. But yeah, otherwise, we're looking at a done deal here. Maybe I should raffle him off for my extra life. Maybe. I don't know. I'll think about it. Probably not, though. I'll be honest with you. I've been waiting for this miniature for a long time. Well, we'll see. All right. So there we go. Skeletor. We're a little coming up on the 2-hour mark here. So that was that 2 hour or an hour and a half? I don't recall. Maybe it's an hour and a half. But yeah, here we go. Skeletor. What do you think? Super fun. We'll let him dry. And like I said, I'll put a little tuft in front of him, but that's the miniature. Really, really pretty happy with that. Okay. So anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Happy Halloween, belated. And thanks for tuning in for Spookytoberfest. Once again, Extra Life is going on next weekend. And I'll put up a few promo vids for that. But, for those of you who have already donated, my sincerest thank you, my sincerest gratitude. And for the rest of you, I do appreciate your support, even if it's just viewing and sharing or liking. Every little bit helps. Okay, so anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.